Hi, this is Cindy with the Sewing Studio. I'd like to thank you for your interest in our 2017 Row by Row called Out and About. We've made this video to help you construct the background. It may look difficult, but it's quite easy. So let's get started. The first step is to construct the strip set. This is an example of what it's going to look like. Of course, yours is going to be much longer, and there'll be two of them. You're going to put the blue with the darker green with the lighter green, and the lighter green with the tan. I've listed in the instructions the number of cuts for each width. Okay, on the back you can see that we've pressed all of the seam allowances toward the tan. Next thing you'll do is you'll cut your strips. You want to line it up so that it's square, and take your ruler and cut 2-inch, 1.5 inch, and 1-inch strips. I've outlined in the instructions how many strips of each width that you'll want to cut. And so you just line your ruler up and you make a cut. Alright, now that you have all of your strips cut, the first thing you'll do is take one of the wider strips and put it on your cutting mat and measure 2.5 inches down and make a mark. And then from that mark, measure 9.5 inches down and make another mark. This will become the body of your background, and the rest is going to be excess that will be trimmed away. In order to extend the guideline for the length of the project, I used painter's tape, and I put painter's tape down across the entire length of the mat. For here it's just a short piece for demonstration purposes. And I put the top of the painter's tape on the 15-inch horizontal line, measured down 9.5 inches, and put the bottom of the painter's tape at the 5.5-inch mark, so that the top of your painter's tape to the bottom of the painter's tape is the body of your 9.5-inch background. From that point, you can just start lining up your pieces in a up-down Bargello effect, however you'd like. This is something that's up to you. It can be your design. And you put them in some sort of order, something like this. And it's really important that when you're doing this, that you're careful that the bottom and the top of the pieces cover the painter's tape. That way you'll ensure that the body of your 9.5-inch background is going to be solid. Once you've laid out all of your pieces and you have them in a pleasing up-down pattern, and this is strictly up to you, however you would like it, then it's really important that you check and make sure that all of the pieces cover the painter's tape. You don't have any of the painter's tape showing. If you had a piece like this, that's going to be a hole in your background, so you want to pull that down so that all of the painter's tape is covered. Then you'll start sewing your strip together. So you're going to take the second strip and flip it over onto the first strip, and then take this to the sewing machine and stitch. Now that you've sewn your piece together, it'll look something like this, and you'll have pressed the seam allowance to one side. It doesn't matter which way you go, just be consistent. And you'll lay your piece back down with the top mark at the top of the painter's tape, and move that close to your other pieces, and take your third piece, turn it over, flip it over, and take this to the sewing machine and stitch it. Once you have that stitched and pressed, you'll come back, line your first piece up on the 15-inch line on the painter's tape, and take and fold over piece 4 onto piece 3. stitch that, press, and then you'll come on and just continue to add the pieces one by one until they measure 36.5 inches. And I would recommend using one of the wider strips at the end as well, because a little bit extra fabric is going to just make it that much easier to place it into the quilt. Okay, so once you have your strips sewn together, you should have 36.5 inches, and you can see that it's oversized and needs to be trimmed. So in order to do that, I put my piece back and I put the mark on the 15-inch line, the top of the painter's tape, and made sure that it was even, and made a pencil mark across the 15-inch line. Then I made another mark at the 5.5-inch line. And it'd be a good idea at this point just to measure and make sure you've got 9.5 inches. Now before you trim, because you're going to be handling your background quite a bit in the process of putting the bicycles, fusing them, and doing the decorative stitching, it would be a good idea to stitch a stay stitch along the top pencil line, along the bottom pencil line. Then you're ready to trim, and all you have to do is just trim along the lines. Be careful not to cut your stay stitching. Make your trim, turn it, trim your other line, trim the bottom edge. And that's the finished background for your row. Okay, now that you have finished your row and did your stay stitching, you can lay out your bicycle pieces, fuse those, and do whatever decorative stitching that you'd like to do. That's strictly up to you. And that completes our video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed making yours as much as I did mine. Have a great summer.